Alright, what's going on, everybody? So these are the R&R speakers, and they're a cloth, like coated with the type of material. I like this. This stuff doesn't go bad. It can, but it usually doesn't. See the same kind of like sticky stuff there, and these actually. It's like kind of like they tried to make them nice, or they went cheap. They're peeling. I would love to know how to recoat these with vinyl, like successfully. Like, where can I get the stuff to do a good job? I've seen people actually like cut little pieces of wood and redo something, basically make it look really nice. They're not in bad shape, so I don't see any reason to really mess with them, but it just reminds me because I always see all these speakers, and there's a lot of speakers from the 80s and stuff like that they sound really good, and they're just kind of made really cheap. A lot of the Kenwoods. So I've been running this stereo here, and I just keep going back to it. I really don't like how it uses this gigantic integrated chip. It claims to be like Class A deal. I can't play the music for you guys because I'll get in trouble, but let's see if we can have a look in here. Let me get in here. Yeah, if you look really carefully, you just see it uses one of those gigantic, like Sony style chips, and it runs all the channels in that. Now somewhere else in here, so that thing is like 115 watts, I guess. I don't know. It's huge. So there's a fan on the back, which is not common, but you have to like really crank this thing up, and then the fan moves with the beat of the music. It's really weird. But it's got a really complicated EQ, like a parametric EQ, and you can change each individual, like EQ 1. You see how it's flashing right there. We go 2, 3, 4. So it looks like EQ4 is 4K to 16K. Why is it flashing there? Okay. EQ1, 40 to 400. EQ2, 160 to 1K. And then EQ3 is 630 to 6.3. So they overlap a little bit, and then so when you're in like the individual one, then you can adjust these ones down here. So I think like if we want, there's presets too. So let's say we want to adjust this one, we'll just bring it down like that and bring it up, whatever needs to be done, and then we like hit EQ1. We'll bring that up. And for whatever reason, it won't let me roll 40 hertz up. Okay. I'm aware of. Interesting. So it will if I use the other knob. Center frequency. Oh, okay. So it adjusts the center frequency. So if you want to move it lower or higher, because we're only focusing on 400 to 400, so that changes the center frequency, and then this changes the level of this center frequency. Okay, I got it. This is super complicated, really. So you gotta figure out where you want it at. But lots of capabilities to mess with it. Nice spectrum scope. It's got lots of bass. It's got the loudness button. I really don't like the design inside the radio, but like I do like the way it sounds. So, I think it's from 1993. I looked it up last night. 110 watts per channel for the front channels, and then it's got some surround channels and a center channel, and they're 10 watts each or something like that. I think the guy said there's actually like a hi-fi website that tested it, and they found that it puts out like literally like 165 watts per channel, 25 watts for the rear channels. So this is in a time period where they were like rated a little bit more conservatively. But so it's got a phono, a tuner, CD, tape, DAT, monitor, VCR 1 and 2. But nowadays, all these home theaters, they don't really sound good. And I've got my new bench over here, and so I've kind of like put together like this is stuff that all came from like Goodwill. And here's a Denon that is HDMI, blah blah blah. A Denon ABR 791, an old Sony CD player, the kind that sound really good. Some Advent speakers. These actually sound really good. This thing is from April 1993. You know, I probably used one like this when I was a kid, listening to CDs at they used to have a place called Silver Platters, and you could go in there and you could listen to the CD before you buy it. And everybody would go to this place and sit in there all day long and listen to music. And they had everything. So we can't really see this very simple Pioneer. It just basically has a couple inputs and all HDMIs, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc. I think this is like the second best one I have here, a Yamaha Natural Sound HTR 5830. I think it's like 110 watts per channel. The Yamahas are generally a little bit better than most of them. This is kind of a more simple one. Maybe that's why it seems to be better for music. You got your front A and B speakers, with the rest of them being push button. I think it's discrete inputs. You have an impedance switch here, so it'll go down to 6 ohms basically. Let's see, what else do we got? We have the component video in and out. So you get a 6-channel input. You get CD input, MD, CDR, in and out, optical, coaxial digital, and you just have like some very, very basic, not even S videos, just video and left and right, which, like, that's what I prefer. Honestly, I think the mistake that a lot of these receivers are making is, I do not want or need a receiver to do all of my video switching. So the less crap that you have in the way from your video path, and this is just like ham radio or anything, the less crap that's in the way of the path, the less signal degradation you're going to experience, and the less loss, less interference and artifacts. Why would you want to run all your stuff into one of these and then out to something else? Oh, I know, because we want it really convenient, because we want it to track the audio. But if you set it up correctly and you feed your audio source into this, or possibly into the TV and then into this, and then the TV can handle whatever it wants. So let's say you've got a DVD player and you've got a cable box, and you've got them hooked up to your TV. You just take the audio out from the TV, which usually being optical or coaxial, and run it into this thing, and just let it do its thing. You know, well, why do you need to make it more complicated? Here is complicated. An Onkyo. TX SR674 from about 2005 or 6. It's a 7-channel and with an assignable back surround, whatever. And it has a limited amount of HDMIs because this is when they were first getting really kind of popular. It's got lots of opticals, coaxial digital in and out, which is amazing. A few S-video connections. Some component video inputs, which is really nice. A CD input, a tape input, a tape out, video number 3, video number 2, video number 1, DVD. We have a subwoofer, center, and surround back pre-out. And front, looks like. Was that in or out? I think it's input in. Yep. For a DVD player that had all that on it, some of them did. So there's the Zone 2 line out, which I don't really understand that one, but a subwoofer pre-output and an IR controller. So you got the front speakers, 2 of those. Center speaker, that's 2 point, 3 point something. So if you had just these, it'd be 3.1 with the sub. And then you add these surround speakers. So now you got 2 more channels. 2, 4, 5. That's 5.1. And then you go ahead and add even more. So you have surround speakers and surround back speakers. So 2 in the front, 4 in the back, 1 in the middle. And then you can do some other goofy crap for the Zone 2, or just so I think that can do your like 7.1. I think it's kind of like some trick bag deal where it really isn't 7.1. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, no, I guess it is 7.1, and then this is just for the Zone. So it's you know, they do have like 9.1, 12.1, and I think 12.2. But so you would hook you know, your 2 different HDMIs in here, and it'd have an out to the TV. And it will either up convert, down convert, or whatever, but you're going to get lost through that. Now this Denon here is fairly advanced, but not as advanced as the Pioneer behind it. But these are just all like cheap from Goodwill, and I don't know, if you're gonna find these for these prices anymore. This one was $14. This one was $69, so nobody bought it. I bought it for $2 on sale. The Onkyo was, it's got a tag on the side here. It was $19. They're usually not that cheap. $14. Let's see here. So this is how they're all starting to look nowadays. Just like that. Real crowded with HDMIs. But then you have the ARC and all that other crap. So, this thing is really hard to configure because, it technically doesn't have a labeled CD input. It has got, basically, you get 2 inputs. DVD, satellite, cable, and you can rename them to whatever you want. And then a monitor out for a very simple thing. And sub 2 out. You do have a digital in for a CD. And it would be coaxial. And you do have a digital in for a TV. And then you have where you can do the biamp wiring, which, I don't know. I have some biamp speakers, and I don't like them. This is from 2015. So we got 2 channels, 3, 4, 5, 5.1. So this is pretty basic. I had the elite version of this, and it drove me nuts because it had something wrong with it, and it would automatically turn the volume down every time that you would mess with it. Now, let's see here. So that's what the Pioneer looks like, and yeah. So on the back of the Denon, we've got quite a few HDMIs. Looks like we're probably fronts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.1. So, and you can always assign these to something else. They don't have A and B speakers. There isn't really a preamp out on any of these, so you can't do anything with the audio if you don't like it. We have audio in, basically DVD, CD, cable box, Blu-ray disc, a dock, and digital in, optical in, not a lot. So, but none of these sound good. That's just being honest. None of them sound good. They all work. They're all incredibly loud. And the better the speakers you hook them to, the better they sound. But they still just sound like, if you've ever had one of these and you put it on direct mode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's not much tonal shaping on them, and they just really don't sound good. So anyway, I'm going to have this as a test bench here. I've got a couple of other ones, but I gave away about 10 of these. I really, literally had that many. I gave away about 10 of them. And one guy actually, I know from the local Goodwill, he goes down there and buys stuff, and he used to see him in the store all the time there. So anyway, it was how we became friends, and then I actually ended up buying an FT102 from him off of Craigslist that I think he must have got from the Goodwill. And he does actually have his ham radio license, but he's not active. So anyway, I've given him a whole bunch of stuff because I'm just like, I buy. What I used to do in Seattle was I would buy these at the Goodwill, and I would audition them and listen to them, and I would sell them for $20 and get rid of them. And here in Arizona, I can't sell them. Nobody wants to buy them. But in Washington, these all would be $50 radios, because they have HDMI on them. And everything else like this would be, $20, maybe $40 if you have some really obscure kind. And the speakers, you could probably get $40, $20 for them, But here, you can't get anything for them. So basically, when you buy them, you're stuck with them. So you're lucky if you can even give them away. So you either give them away or you redonate them to Goodwill. And so from now on, that's what I do, because he redonated a bunch of them that I gave him. I gave him a really nice 90s Pioneer. And I didn't really want to deal with it because it had a couple of issues. But this guy is into the music and all that, but he uses some little Class D headphone amplifier or something. So realistically, in my opinion, none of these really sound all that great. But I'm gonna go ahead and just test them all again. These speakers here are pretty good to test with too. I've got monitors here, and these speakers actually compare pretty favorably to studio monitors. I've also got some studio monitors. These PreSonus Aris 3.5s. And actually, believe it or not, I'd rather listen to those than these stereos with speakers on them. So I don't know what it is about the home theater stereos. I've got a Radio Shack stereo from the late 70s. It's got, wood, all that. I've got a Sony stereo from the 90s, but it's not a video switching thing. It's just a receiver. And it's cheap plastic Sony. and it sounds really good. And then I had one that was like a little bit newer than that. It sounded horrible. It looked almost identical. But it just like, I don't know, they just make these things sound like crap. So back in the 70s, the way they sold radios where people went in and they auditioned them and they listened to them at brick and mortar stores. And now the companies don't have to worry about that because like nobody auditions them unless maybe Best Buy carries them. And that's about it. But these are all, like the newest one being about 2015, so these are all, you know, over 10 years old or more. But, I mean, they're readily available at Goodwill and thrift stores, so, like, if you wanted to build a home theater on a budget, like, any of these would work really well. And then, you know, you would probably want to get, like, a 7.1 or something with lots of power for headroom, because they're usually lying about the output. And some of these have like a setup mic, and you know, I think that one does, and the that one does. I'm about positive that the well, I thought the Denon did, but I guess it doesn't. So anyway, I mean, you know, like if I didn't have kids and I could, you know, have nice speakers in the living room, you know, I've got some in the house that are, you know, pretty nice. But I just, you know, I'm not setting up a thing. I don't watch movies or anything. So for me, I like music, and these just don't cut it for me. And I've owned hundreds of different ones over the years. Hundreds, I'm sure. If not, real close to it. So yeah, this thing's really good. Sounds great. By the way, I've got one of these fancy power conditioners, and I've never seen any kind of difference. So it's just kind of cool because it's got a meter that tells me my line voltage. But my favorite amp is this, and it's just an amp. It doesn't do anything else. It's an amp. There's no tuner in it. It's a Yamaha from like 1984, and it's heavy. It's awesome. So anyway, that's one of my other kind of hobbies that I have besides ham radio and all the other stuff. So I would share that with you guys.